Now, Chris, there was rumblings around the sideline that Dad had picked Tennessee to beat Alabama 24-21, that Nick Saban was having a hard time getting his football team ready to play last week. And when Dad did that, the switch was flipped. So Dad's taking credit now for getting Alabama ready to play in that football game in a 49-10 victory. Can you believe he's taking credit for that now?
Is he going the Pat Dye route from several years ago, where Dye got credit for helping Georgia because he said he didn't think they were man enough to beat Alabama at the line of scrimmage, and they used that. Is that what you're doing now, Coach?
I hope I'm not following him.
Yeah, amen to that, brother.
Yeah.
Amen to that. No, I tell you, I've given up trying to figure out the exact formula on this stuff because I got to ask, just like y'all do. Everybody, how it is, whether it's a store, you're, church, it don't matter where you are. If you're a football fan, you're an Alabama fan, everybody's going to go, what do you think? What do you think about this weekend? And I get hit with that just like y'all do. And all I kept saying was, if hang on to the football, we're fine. Well, Lord, against USC and Tennessee, we turned it over 4 times and won 101-16. So I'm not saying it's okay to turn it over, but I just don't know that turnovers, especially with the way Alabama plays defense, are as devastating as they once were. I think it's maybe more possessions in a ball game now, more plays. There's better opportunities to overcome it. But by the way, it doesn't hurt matters for your team when you turn it over twice, and then your defense and your special teams give you 14 points a game too. That'll kind of help you overcome some mistakes as well.
Chris, you've been around Nick Saban a lot. Dad and I talked about this at the beginning of the show. He's got his work cut out for him, and I know this sounds crazy, getting these guys' heads back out of the cloud because the fans are everybody's just going crazy, 49-10 now. Tennessee had some injuries there, whatever. Alabama's still going to win the football game, but they got a big game this weekend. What does Nick Saban do? He'll do something out of the box here to get this team, forget this Tennessee game and get focused on the Texas A&M team coming in that's ranked 6th in the country.
He's a guy that is very much a believer of what's next and what have you got to do on this play in the past doesn't matter unless he can use that as motivation. And I think he can use and probably will use the motivation of a few things, just as reminders. Not that he's going to pound on it all week, but just as reminders. Hey, we were in this spot 4 or 5 years ago, and they came in with this guy named Johnny Manziel. We didn't respect him, and they were up 21-0 on us, and ultimately won the ball game. Trevor Knight's the quarterback. Last time we played him, he looked like Johnny Manziel. You can't have the letdown. You got to put Tennessee behind you. There are all those type things that I think he will use at some point this week if it's not been used already. But I totally agree that this is the biggest challenge of the year for 2 reasons. The part we've already discussed, trying to come back down to earth. But the other fact is I think A&M's the best football team they face this year. We can talk Ole Miss, and I do think Ole Miss is talented. I think Texas A&M is the second best team in the West right now. And with the potential, rested, healthy, a lot of confidence, no doubt whatsoever that they think today in College Station that they're going to come into Tuscaloosa and win for the second time in about 5 years.
What do you think about Alabama's offensive line? We give the running backs a lot of credit. We give give the quarterback a lot of credit. In some way, we always forget the abilities the offensive line had, and they really have improved, haven't they?
They have, and Coach, I don't know a lot of football, but Tyler Watts, doing games with him, we used to do those replays. Something he said one day has just stuck with me. He said, we can talk running backs, quarterbacks, wideouts, all this, great players at secondary and linebackers and all that. He said, if my 5 can block your 4, I'm going to be successful. But if my 5 can't block your 4, I ain't got a chance. and Bama's 5 right now up front have grown and developed. I don't think there was ever a question about the talent there. There shouldn't be question about talent anywhere on Alabama's roster anymore when you've had, 6-7 years in a row of having the top-ranked recruiting class, and whether it's the best or not, it's insignificant. If you're there, it means you're good enough. And so the talent has been there, but new guys, new roles, the need to develop chemistry, cohesion, understanding of your roles, getting healthy, all of those things are starting to pay off. And on a day when, for all the talk about Tennessee's injuries, which is true and significant, and I don't have any doubt played a partial role in the final score. Alabama was out Alphonse Taylor as well, and a key part of that offensive line. And you have one link out from that chain, and it can make you weak. And it wasn't weak at all with Lester Cotton stepping in, did a fantastic job, and the line as a whole helped Alabama have a phenomenal day running the football.
Chris, is there any validity? I think home court advantage is much bigger in college basketball than it's football. I think Alabama plays better on the road. It's a different deal. I can't really explain it, but coming back home, you're playing at home now. You're going to have family coming. You get your tickets straight. This, that, that. Well, they can take their team on the road, and they can kind of get more focused in on just the game. You got game day coming in, all those things going on. Is that a factor in this game?
Barry, whether it's a factor specifically in this game or not, I'm not sure, but I do think I absolutely agree with your statement about, basketball at being a bigger advantage than in football because, and I do think it can depend on your team and maturity level, and usually the more talented team's going to win anyway. But, for the casual fan that doesn't know and hadn't traveled with the team, there are infinitely more distractions at home. You got, you're in class every day, whether you got a road game or a home game. And even though you stay at a team hotel the night before a home game too, it's just different because you don't have the number of distractions. You don't have the things around you. You're isolated when you go to the hotel. You get a chance to interact with people that are there at the team hotel, but it's just not the same with, as you said, the ticket demand and ticket requests for the home game and things like that. And I think their ability, Alabama's ability to thrive on being the mortal enemy of everybody when they walk into the stadium, that's a badge of honor. And let me tell you, as much as the win gave that team a lot of pride, the fact that those final seconds at Neyland Stadium ticked down and there wasn't nothing but crimson left in it is really something that they enjoyed as much as the win itself, because that's the indicator as much as the scoreboard that they completely dominated the opposition and dominated that football game. And they took that from being one of the loudest places I've been to being as quiet as you can possibly find it on the road.
Yeah, that.
A&M coming in, the quarterback-wise, does that kind of remind you, I think you mentioned a minute ago, remind you of Johnny Football? I've said that he's the guy that he doesn't manage the game as well as some guys, but he can mismanage it and beat you real bad because you're not ready for him to play the way he plays, and other times he gets himself killed. I think he's a different kind of quarterback to defend.
Yeah, and I may change my opinion, Coach, after seeing him Saturday, but I think right now he kind of reminds me of Chad Kelly in this sense.
Yeah.
If you're asking me to pick my quarterback from a group of Josh Dobbs, Chad Kelly, or Trevor Knight, I'm probably going to pick Josh Dobbs. But if I'm picking a quarterback to beat Alabama in one game, I'm going to take my chances probably with Chad Kelly or Trevor Knight for the very reason you talked about, because they can sling it. I think your best hope is to take a bunch of shots downfield and hope that you can hit a couple of them, because nobody's going to just drive the football on Alabama consistently over the course of 4 quarters. And those are two guys that can be very dangerous and give Trevor Knight can give Texas A&M a really good opportunity to stay in the football game, because that's what teams have got to, you talk about winning. You got to find a way to get this into the fourth quarter where it even matters, because Alabama is just absolutely, break training these teams right now. And I know Arkansas was a more respectable score, but that game, there was no question about the outcome of that game in the fourth quarter a week ago. So for A&M, I think Knight is a guy that gives them a chance to have some big play success early. They're talented enough on defense to create maybe some frustration for Alabama's offense and see if they can get it to the fourth quarter. But I do think Knight is easily one of the best talents that we'll see at quarterback all season long.
We're talking with Chris Stewart. Chris, earlier in the week, Nick Saban talked about Bo Scarbrough, and you could tell that he was happy with Bo. He said Bo's going to be a big factor as this year goes along. Then I look up, lo and behold, he starts him. He starts him in the game, and Bo plays well. I think he only gets 5 carries. He obviously has the one long run, but Damian Harris, he's okay with coming off the bench. Joshua Jacobs is okay with coming off the bench, but he probably wanted to ignite Bo Scarbrough because he knew he's going to need him later. Those are little things, coaching moves that he does that I think he's always kind of tweaking it a little bit. And I want to get your opinion on that.
No, I would agree. And I think also, too, it was kind of an indicator that Alabama's primary goal, even though they threw it and worked the edge a little bit early on, their primary point of attack was going to be between tackles. And Bo's the one, even though, Josh and Damian are strong kids that are more than capable of running between tackles, neither one of them's as big as Bo is. And he's the guy that, as he develops more confidence in himself and in what he's doing and what Alabama's trying to get done, is capable of being the most dangerous weapon between the tackles running the football. And I think you saw that late. I did think it was kind of interesting. The thing you got to do when you got a big lead is, and you're not trying to show the opponent up, is you run the football between the tackles. Well, the reality is that was where Tennessee, by the time we got to the second half, and some may argue even in the first quarter, that was their weakest spot. So it gave you the best opportunity to hit the home run ball. Just handed it off to that big guy. But I do think, it's been so long since he's played a full season, played extended, gotten extended carries, and been able to really trust what is going on in terms of the offense, but trusting his body to handle the beating that you take since he's come off those injuries that he suffered in high school and obviously in college as well. And I think you're seeing that now. He's got a better understanding of what Lane Kiffin's asking him to do. We say that and then sticks the ball on the ground and he gets a perfect roll right to him late and still turns it into positive yardage. If he can just eliminate those, if he can eliminate putting the ball on the ground, Nick Saban will use him more and more. But there's got to be a trust factor.
Yeah.
It's not so much the positive play that Alabama needs as they can't afford the negative play because they're doing enough in other areas. We saw that the only touchdown Tennessee got was from a forced fumble on a backside hit on Jalen.
That was a bad play call, I thought.
Yeah, but my point is, as long as the ball's not on the ground and you're not throwing it to the wrong color jersey, it doesn't look like anybody's going to beat Alabama. And the problem is Alabama has shown the fact that they may give you a couple of opportunities. Can you take advantage of them as the opposition, and can you limit the scoring by Bama's defense and special teams? That'll help make it a little more bearable when you get to the fourth as well.
Dad, you got anything else for Chris?
No, that's great.
Chris, I want to ask one other question. I don't know if you've gotten to be around him at all. Obviously, Nick Saban's not let freshmen talk to the media, and I understand that completely. Have you gotten to be around Jalen Hurts at all and talk to him? What kind of kid is he? A real serious kid? This tells about what Jalen Hurts is really like, because we haven't gotten a chance to hear from him yet.
Right, and I'm not around him much at all except for game day, and just watching the demeanor and seeing him interact with guys in the locker room, and you know, I think he is a guy that has got the perfect demeanor for the position. He'll cut up a little bit with them, you know, showing some things where he's loose, but man, when they hit the field, it's all business, and nothing seems to rattle him. And Coach got asked about it after the game, and he said he got after Hurts a couple of times. He made some mistakes, and he got after him. And he said he always asked him after the game, should I have gotten on you? And Jalen's the son of a coach, and he goes, yeah, you should have, Coach. He gets it. He understands. He doesn't pout. He knows it's part of it. He knows when he screws up, but he knows, you know, when there's two things involved with this, and you guys are coaches, you know it a whole lot better than I do. But having played at least basketball on a high school level and been around sports ever since, I know that you got to treat all your players fair, but you don't always treat them the same. Some guys can handle being yelled at, screamed at, kicked a little bit, so to speak, and other guys can't. They can't handle that. They'll fold. You got to motivate them a different way. But when you can get after your best player as intensely as you do another guy down the line a little bit, you tell me, does that not help your locker room? Does that not help the whole camaraderie thing when you're truly able to get after your leader the same way you could anybody else?
Yeah, no doubt.
I guess what I'm saying, you're not having to treat them with kid gloves, so to speak, and it doesn't look like you're playing favorites on that deal as a coach. And I don't think, you know, I think what we've seen is that he's tough enough to take the same type of tough love, so to speak, that Nick Saban can give, and understand where it's coming from and get better from it when that does happen.
No doubt. Well said. Hey, Chris, tell them about the websites.
Yeah, guys, just having some fun with my own site. It's called ChrisStewartOnline.com. It gives you links to my social media platforms, and be putting together a wrap on Tennessee here later today, and we'll be doing some things to preview Texas A&M as the week goes on, and also when I get a chance to make some appearances later in the week, as I will on Friday and Saturday as well. Be giving information about that. So I appreciate you giving me a chance to mention it again. The website is ChrisStewartOnline.com.
Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. Thank you, guys. Yeah, I appreciate it too. Take care.